Being your own boss also means being your own slave, but not at the same time. There is a reason for this course, Psych 101 at Kiss My Ass University. Tony Robbins says that 80% of success is psychology and the other 20% is execution. You should listen to Tony Robbins. He's got something to teach you. Now, the question is why? You know, human nature is fundamentally opposed to three things: risk, energy expenditure, and long-term planning. The reason for that is our ancestral evolutionary environment. In an ancestral environment, risk was often fatal, such as antagonizing a part of the group, going to a new territory, fucking the wrong woman, and so on and so forth. Second, energy expenditure was seldom warranted given the situation. You can read books by David Buss about evolutionary psychology. He goes into considerable detail about the conditions in which our early ancestors lived. Early humans spend most of the time doing nothing. That's why evolutionarily ancient people, that is most people, are fundamentally lazy. That is actually a functional adaptation. And finally, life was sufficiently precarious that long-term planning rarely paid off. Now, there are two people inside your head: the rational part and the emotional part. And the rational part decides, this is the plan, this is what we're going to do. But then the emotional part says, no, I want to stay comfortable, I want to save energy, I want to minimize my energy expenditure, and basically I just want to be safe. If you allow your execution to contaminate your planning, that is equivalent to putting these two different people, the emotional person and the rational person, together in a room. And the rational person always loses. So you have to keep them separated. And for example, when you plan, you don't really think about actually doing the stuff that you're planning to do. Because if you start thinking about that, then your planning will be affected because you want to spare yourself effort. You pretend that it's a completely different person having to do that work. You just ask yourself what needs to be done. When you execute the opposite, you forget that you are the boss. You pretend that you're a slave. You have to do what you were told to do. There's no question about it. Because otherwise, what ends up happening is that as you're executing, you think, well, this sucks, I'm in pain, it's not happening fast enough, I'm getting bored, I'm getting frustrated, I'm going to change the plan. All of a sudden, your brain finds all sorts of reasons why it would be a good idea to go and change the plan. Now, never do this, but even if you genuinely, legitimately feel that your plan hadn't taken into account some new discoveries that you made on the field while executing, you still don't change the plan in the field. Because if you execute for a small amount of time on the wrong thread, there's nothing. You can easily recover from that. But if you don't develop the very strict religious habit of never contaminating planning when you're in execution mode, then you're taking away all your ability to plan. That destroys you. You'll never recover from a failure of discipline like that. For this reason, even if you think you've got all the reasons in the world that now is the time to change the plan, but you're in execution mode, you don't change the plan. You keep going even if it's wrong. Just like there are a planning and execution phase, there are two different phases in the tracking of your progress as well. There are two ways to go about judging whether you're being effective or not, whether your efforts are paying off or not. The first one is by analysis, and the second one is by feelings. The analysis could be something like, how many active users have you gotten this month? Feelings might be, look, there's a new competitor and they got a big round of funding and we don't have it yet. And you never want to rely on feelings because they're unreliable. So you don't want to get to the field and then start making guesses about how good you're doing, because inevitably you're going to have rough patches, you're going to have periods in which nothing is moving, and that's going to tell you your plan sucks. That's going to tell you this way of executing doesn't work. And you can't work well if there's somebody bugging you in your ear and saying this plan is shit and you're not doing things the right way. So for this reason, when you're executing, you're completely ignoring your feelings. Now also in business, you don't have sensory grounding. You can't see things work on a daily basis. You're going to go on tangents, not on tangents, but you're going to follow plans where for a month, for 2 months, maybe 6 months, maybe 2 years, you're not going to see any difference. And so your feelings, in an absence of feedback, they don't tell you no information. No, they tell you everything is going to shit, you're getting nothing here, because in an ancestral environment, you could have been dead in 5 days, who knows? So if nothing is happening for you, you're not getting results, that's your ancient evolutionary mechanisms telling you your plan is too long term, change plan, reduce plan length, and you want that shit to shut up. For this reason, when you're executing, you're never asking yourself, how good is it going? Never. Get that outside of the head. When you're executing, how good it's going is not a measure of what you're getting, it's a measure of what you're giving. It's a measure of how many things that you said you were going to do are you actually doing. That's your measure of success while in execution. Then when you're in planning mode, no problem. You think that your way of characterizing your progress, say your number of viewers, that's not the right metric, no problem, you go and change it. But you're going to change it when you're in execution mode. You're going to change it when you're in planning mode, not in execution mode. Okay, so you separate the two. If you follow this advice, you're able to operate as if you had no laziness and no emotions. And that is a superhuman state of being that is definitely necessary in today's environment. If you can get to this superhuman stage, you will find that now your obstacles, they melt like butter. Because what you've got now is a knife that's hot and a hand that's steady. If you found this video to be of any value, please subscribe, reshare it, tattoo it on your vagina. But if you don't want to tattoo the whole video on your vagina, just tattoo the URL of the video on your vagina. Whatever you need to do. Peace.